My beloved child. Stop scrolling, not because the world is asking for your attention, but because heaven has quietly arranged this very moment for your heart. There is something waiting for you here that cannot be understood by rushing past it. If these words found you, pause here for a moment. What you are about to hear was meant to find you, not by accident, but by a divine whisper that has been moving long before this day began. Do not leave yet. Stay until the end of this message, because what is unfolding around your life is far greater than what your eyes have been able to see. Every unanswered prayer, every silent tear, every moment you wondered if your feelings had disappeared into the wind has been witnessed. Nothing that came from the depths of your heart has been forgotten in heaven. There has been a shift that few can perceive. While you believed your emotions remained hidden, your soul spoke a language beyond words. It traveled through moments of silence, through dreams neither of you fully remembered, through the quiet spaces where human voices cannot reach. Your true feelings carried a light that could not remain concealed forever. For so long, your soulmate believed the story was already written. They convinced themselves that the distance was permanent, that time had closed every door, and that moving in another direction would finally bring peace. They began making plans that had nothing to do with you. They tried to silence memories that refused to fade. Outwardly, they appeared ready to continue life without looking back. But heaven had not finished writing the story. Just when everything seemed settled, something unexpected happened. Not through coincidence. Not through chance. But through a moment that only divine timing could create. A realization entered their heart without warning. It did not arrive with loud voices or dramatic signs. Instead, it came like the first light before sunrise, gentle, impossible to ignore, and powerful enough to change everything they believed. They suddenly felt the weight of what your heart had been carrying. They recognized emotions they had misunderstood. Pieces that once seemed disconnected began fitting together with astonishing clarity. Questions they had ignored now demanded answers. And the plans they were so certain about no longer felt right. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. There are moments when heaven allows two hearts to feel each other across impossible distances. You may have sensed unusual peace recently, or perhaps an unexpected longing that seemed to appear from nowhere. That was not your imagination. The invisible threads connecting your journey have been moving in ways your mind could never calculate. Your soulmate reached a crossroads they never expected. They stopped. They looked back. They remembered conversations they thought were ordinary but suddenly understood their deeper meaning. They remembered your kindness when no one else noticed. They remembered the way your presence brought calm into their storms. And for the first time, they questioned whether walking away had been the greatest mistake they could ever make. This realization did not leave them unchanged. Everything inside them began shifting. The future they were preparing suddenly felt empty. The direction they were running toward no longer brought peace. An urgency awakened within them that they could not explain to anyone around them. Others saw only another ordinary day. Heaven saw destiny changing course. Do not skip this moment. Something greater is still waiting to be revealed. Even now, while these words are reaching you, unseen pieces are falling into place. Doors that looked permanently closed are quietly unlocking. Conversations that seemed impossible are drawing closer. Hearts that once resisted are becoming softer with every passing hour. Yet there is one detail I have not revealed. It is the very reason your soulmate abandoned every carefully prepared plan. It is the reason their heartbeats suddenly refused to let them remain where they were. It is the reason they are no longer thinking about someday. They feel compelled to move. They feel called to act. But where they are rushing, and what they discovered in the final moment before making that decision, is something I will reveal next. For now, hold faith close, because the next chapter changes everything. My beloved child. Do not look away now. Remain here for just a little longer, because the silence that surrounded this story is beginning to break. What seemed impossible only moments ago is becoming part of a greater design that has been unfolding beyond human understanding. Stay until the end, because the next revelation is one that many search for but few are prepared to hear. There is a reason your heart has felt restless. There is a reason certain memories have returned without warning. You believed they were simply passing thoughts, yet heaven has been allowing those moments to prepare you for what is ahead. Sometimes the soul recognizes movement before the mind can explain it. Your soulmate reached a moment they could no longer ignore. It happened unexpectedly. A simple reminder. A familiar place. A forgotten conversation. Something so ordinary became the spark that awakened everything they had tried to bury. In a single quiet moment, they realized that the feelings they had pushed aside had never truly disappeared. They had only been waiting beneath the surface, growing stronger with time. They paused everything. Plans that once felt important suddenly seemed insignificant. Conversations they intended to have with others no longer carried the same meaning. Their schedule no longer mattered the way it had only hours before. Their heart kept returning to one place. To one memory. To one person. You. They began asking themselves questions they had avoided for far too long. What if I misunderstood everything? What if the love I was searching for has been closer than I realized? What if I walk away and spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been? These questions refused to leave them. The more they tried to silence them, the louder they became. That is because some answers are written by heaven, not by fear. Do not skip this part. There is still something greater waiting for you. While your soulmate wrestled with these emotions, another realization quietly settled into their spirit. They remembered the times when your actions spoke louder than your words. They remembered your patience during moments when most people would have given up. They remembered the quiet strength you carried even when your own heart was uncertain. Suddenly, pieces that once looked ordinary became extraordinary. What they once overlooked became unforgettable. What they once dismissed became precious. And with every passing moment, one truth became impossible to deny. Your feelings had always been genuine. There had been no hidden game. No false promises. Only a heart that loved sincerely, even when no recognition came in return. That realization changed everything. It was as if a veil had been lifted from their eyes. The future they had imagined without you no longer felt complete. The direction they had chosen suddenly felt empty. Peace disappeared whenever they imagined continuing forward while leaving your connection behind. So they made a decision. Not out of pressure. Not out of fear. But because something deep within their spirit refused to let them remain still. Heaven often works this way. Before destiny changes on the outside, it transforms the heart within. That transformation has already begun. Even now, while you are hearing these words, unseen moments continue unfolding. Timing is aligning. Paths are quietly moving closer together. Answers that seem delayed are drawing nearer with every passing hour. Yet there is still one final piece missing. There is one encounter. One unexpected moment. One decision waiting just ahead. And when it happens, neither of you will see life in the same way again. But that moment has not fully arrived. Its story belongs to the next chapter. My beloved child. Stay with these words a little longer. Do not rush past this moment, because the story unfolding before you has reached a place where every heartbeat carries new meaning. What seemed like a quiet whisper is becoming impossible to ignore. If you have remained until now, it is because your spirit has recognized that something extraordinary is drawing near. There are moments when heaven does not force open a door. Instead, it gently leads two hearts toward the same path until neither can deny what has always been true. That is where your story now stands. Your soulmate tried one last time to focus on everything except you. They threw themselves into responsibilities. They distracted themselves with routines. They convinced themselves that time would eventually erase every feeling. Yet the more they tried to move forward, the more your presence returned, not as a memory they wished to escape, but as a piece they could no longer replace. It happened in the quiet. Without warning. They found themselves smiling at a memory they had not visited in months. They remembered your kindness during a difficult season. They remembered the way your words carried comfort without asking for anything in return. Most of all, they remembered how safe they felt whenever thoughts of you entered their heart. That realization became impossible to ignore. Do not skip this moment, because something even greater is about to unfold. As they reflected, another truth became clear. They realized they had mistaken silence for absence. They believed that because certain words had never been spoken, the feelings must not have existed. But now they understood that genuine love often speaks through patience, consistency, and quiet devotion long before it is spoken aloud. That understanding changed everything. The plans they had carefully organized suddenly lost their importance. Appointments could wait. Distractions no longer mattered. The path they had been following no longer felt like home. One thought rose above every other. I need to stop pretending. That single thought echoed through their heart again and again. It became stronger with every passing hour. What once felt uncertain now carried unmistakable clarity. They no longer wanted another day filled with unanswered questions. They no longer wanted distance to decide what courage could reveal. Deep inside, they sensed that waiting any longer might mean missing a moment heaven had prepared with such care. So they began making quiet changes. Not dramatic. Not reckless. Intentional. Every small decision pointed in one direction. Toward truth. Toward healing. Toward the possibility of restoring what they once believed had slipped away forever. Even now, unseen pieces continue falling into place. Conversations that seemed impossible are drawing closer. Unexpected opportunities are quietly forming. Timing that once felt delayed is beginning to reveal its purpose. But there is still one detail your soulmate has not shared with anyone. There are words resting on their heart that they have rehearsed countless times but have never spoken aloud. Those words carry hope. Those words carry honesty. Those words have the power to change everything between you. And sooner than they ever imagined, they will have to decide whether to keep those words hidden, or finally let them be heard. That decision, and what happens the moment your paths begin to move toward each other, is the story that belongs in part 4. My beloved child. Do not leave now. Stay until the very last word, because the story heaven has been unfolding is reaching a turning point that neither heart expected. What began as a quiet stirring has now become a call that can no longer be ignored. Every moment you have listened has been preparing you for what comes next. Your soulmate woke with a feeling they could not explain. Nothing around them seemed different. The world continued as it always had. People followed their routines. Conversations came and went. Yet inside their heart, everything had changed. It felt as though an invisible hand was gently reminding them that life was too precious to leave important feelings unspoken. Again and again, your name crossed their mind. Not because someone mentioned it. Not because they searched for it. But because their heart kept returning to the place where peace had always existed. They tried to distract themselves one final time. They focused on work. They answered messages. They made plans for the day. But every path seemed to circle back to the same quiet realization. There is something unfinished. That thought refused to disappear. The more they resisted it, the stronger it became. Stay with this message, because an even greater revelation is still ahead. Heaven often works in ways that seem ordinary on the surface while accomplishing extraordinary things beneath it. A simple moment became a powerful reminder. A familiar melody, a meaningful place, or an unexpected memory awakened emotions they believed had faded. Suddenly, they saw your story together from a completely different perspective. They no longer remembered only the difficult moments. They remembered the laughter, the encouragement, the hope you carried even during uncertain seasons. They remembered how your presence brought calm when everything else felt overwhelming. And they realized something that filled their heart with both joy and regret. Love had been growing quietly all along. It had never truly disappeared. It had simply been waiting for courage. That realization brought them to a decision they never imagined making. They stopped planning a future built on what if. Instead, they began thinking about what now. Their heart no longer wanted endless questions. It longed for truth. It longed for honesty. It longed for a chance to discover what could happen when fear no longer controlled the story. Do not skip this part, because the next moments matter. While all of this was happening, you may have sensed a subtle change within yourself as well. Perhaps there has been an unexpected calm after a season of uncertainty. Perhaps hope has quietly returned when you least expected it. Those moments are not without purpose. Sometimes heaven prepares two hearts separately before allowing their journeys to move together again. Your soulmate has now reached the place where silence feels heavier than speaking. Every passing day strengthens their resolve. Every memory reminds them of what truly matters. Every quiet prayer brings them one step closer to taking action. But there is one final obstacle still standing before them. It is not distance. It is not time. It is the fear of whether their feelings will be welcomed when the moment finally arrives. That single question remains in their heart. Yet even now, heaven is preparing an unexpected answer. And when that answer appears, it will give them the courage to take the step they have been postponing for far too long. What happens after that moment, and the unexpected sign that changes everything, will be revealed in Part 5. My beloved child. Stay here a little longer. Do not rush away now, because the story has reached the moment where quiet hope begins to overcome quiet fear. Every chapter until now has been leading to this point, where what was hidden starts to become visible. There is still one more layer to uncover, and it carries a meaning deeper than either of you could have imagined. Your soulmate has carried one question in silence. What if I arrive too late? That thought has followed them through quiet mornings and restless evenings. It has lingered in the background of ordinary moments, refusing to disappear. They have wondered whether too much time has passed, whether unspoken emotions have created a distance that cannot be crossed. But heaven has been whispering something different. It has been reminding them that love rooted in sincerity is not measured only by time. It is strengthened by truth, refined by patience, and guided by purpose. The journey has not been about perfect timing, it has been about prepared hearts. Do not skip this moment, because another revelation is about to unfold. As your soulmate reflected on everything they had discovered, a deep sense of peace began replacing hesitation. For the first time in a long while, they stopped imagining every possible outcome and simply listened to what their heart had been saying all along. They realized they did not want another season filled with unanswered questions. They no longer wished to wonder what might have happened if they had simply been honest. They understood that some opportunities are too meaningful to leave behind. That realization became their turning point. Slowly, quietly, they began making room for a new beginning. Old fears started losing their grip. Past misunderstandings no longer seemed impossible to heal. Hope, once only a faint spark, became a steady light guiding every step forward. At the same time, something within you has also been changing. Perhaps you have noticed moments of unexpected peace. Perhaps certain worries no longer feel as heavy as they once did. Perhaps your heart has become more open to believing that good things can still arrive after long seasons of waiting. Those quiet changes matter. Heaven often prepares both hearts at the same time, even when neither realizes it. Every lesson, every delay, every unanswered moment has been shaping you both not to return to the past exactly as it was, but to step into something wiser, gentler, and stronger. Stay until the end, because this next truth is important. Your soulmate is no longer running from their feelings. They are moving toward clarity. Toward honesty. Toward the possibility of speaking the words that have remained locked inside for far too long. Yet one final moment still remains. A moment that neither of you can predict. An encounter that seems ordinary on the surface but carries extraordinary meaning beneath it. When that moment arrives, everything they have been holding back will stand at the edge of becoming words. And in that single instant, both hearts will realize that the journey was never only about finding each other, it was about becoming ready for the truth they were always meant to share. But what is spoken in that unforgettable moment, and how heaven gently brings the next chapter together, is a story that must wait for part 6. My beloved child. Do not turn away now. Stay with this message until the very last word, because what has been quietly unfolding is approaching a moment of beautiful clarity. Every chapter before this has been preparing your heart for what comes next. What seemed like scattered moments are beginning to reveal a single, breathtaking picture. Your soulmate can no longer ignore what has been growing within. The questions that once filled their mind have slowly been replaced with quiet certainty. Instead of wondering whether they should move forward, they have begun asking themselves how they can move forward with honesty, kindness, and courage. This is not a change that happened overnight. It has been shaped by reflection. By quiet moments. By lessons learned through both joy and disappointment. And through it all, one truth continued to shine brighter than every doubt. Your presence never truly left their heart. Stay until the end, because an even greater revelation is waiting. There came a peaceful moment when they stopped trying to control every outcome. They realized that the future cannot always be planned with perfect certainty. Some of life's most meaningful chapters begin with a single step taken in faith. That realization brought unexpected peace. Their heart became lighter. The fears that once seemed overwhelming began to lose their power. Instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, they found themselves thinking about everything that could finally be made right. That quiet shift changed the direction of their entire journey. They began looking at old memories with new understanding. Moments they once misunderstood now appeared filled with hidden meaning. Your patience became unforgettable. Your kindness became impossible to overlook. Your sincerity became something they deeply admired. The more they reflected, the clearer everything became. What they had been searching for in distant places had quietly been growing closer all along. Do not skip this moment. Sometimes heaven answers prayers not with sudden miracles, but with transformed hearts. That is exactly what has been happening. While you have been learning resilience, your soulmate has been learning gratitude. While you have been learning patience, they have been learning courage. While you have been learning to trust the journey, they have been learning not to let fear make decisions for them anymore. Neither path was wasted. Every delay carried purpose. Every season prepared both of you in ways that could not have happened any other way. Even now, unseen doors continue opening. Unexpected opportunities are gently appearing. Small moments that seem ordinary are quietly leading toward something much greater. Neither of you can fully see the complete picture yet. But heaven can. And that is why you are being reminded today not to lose hope before the story reaches its beautiful conclusion. There is still one final hesitation resting within your soulmate's heart. It is not about whether their feelings are real. They know they are. It is not about whether they want to move forward. They do. Their final hesitation is wondering whether your heart still has room for the truth they are preparing to share. That question remains unanswered. For only a little while longer. Because an unexpected opportunity is drawing closer than either of you realizes. A simple conversation. A familiar connection. A moment that seems completely ordinary. Will become the beginning of something neither of you expected when this journey first began. And when that moment arrives, the words they have carried in silence will finally begin to find their way into the light. But the first words they choose to speak, and the gentle sign that confirms the timing, belong to part 7. My beloved child. Do not leave now. Stay until the final word of this message, because the quiet story heaven has been weaving is now approaching the moment where faith begins to meet fulfillment. Every chapter has carried you one step closer to a truth that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface. If your heart has remained here this long, it is because something within you recognizes that this journey is not over. There comes a time when silence has completed its purpose. There comes a time when waiting has taught every lesson it was meant to teach. And there comes a time when a heart realizes that keeping love hidden no longer protects it, only delays the joy that honesty can bring. That is where your soulmate now stands. They have stopped asking whether these feelings are real. They have stopped trying to convince themselves they will simply disappear. Instead, they have begun accepting what heaven has gently revealed to them all along. Your place in their heart was never temporary. It became part of who they are. Stay with me, because something even more beautiful is about to unfold. In quiet moments, they have found themselves imagining conversations they once believed would never happen. They have wondered what they would say if they were given the chance to speak openly, without fear, without pride, without the weight of yesterday standing between you. They have replayed those words countless times. Not because they seek perfection, but because they want sincerity. They want every word to reflect the truth that has slowly transformed their heart. They no longer wish to hide behind uncertainty. They no longer want assumptions to speak louder than honesty. They simply want the opportunity to let truth be heard. Do not skip this moment. Heaven often prepares the heart before preparing the conversation. That preparation has been happening quietly. Every lesson you have learned has made you stronger. Every disappointment has given you greater compassion. Every unanswered prayer has deepened your ability to trust beyond what your eyes could see. Your soulmate has been walking through a similar transformation. Where fear once lived, courage has begun to grow. Where confusion once lingered, clarity has quietly taken its place. Where hesitation once ruled every decision, hope has started leading the way. This is why the atmosphere around your journey feels different. Something is changing. Not with noise. Not with pressure. But with peaceful confidence. Even now, small moments are aligning in ways neither of you fully understands. Paths that once seemed distant are gradually moving closer. Opportunities that appeared ordinary carry far greater meaning than anyone realizes. What seems like an ordinary day may become the beginning of an extraordinary chapter. What seems like an ordinary conversation may carry words remembered for years to come. What seems like an ordinary choice may quietly redirect both of your lives toward healing, understanding, and renewed hope. Stay until the end, because there is one final truth for today. Your soulmate has made a decision within their heart. They no longer wish to let fear write the ending of this story. They have chosen honesty over uncertainty. They have chosen hope over endless wondering. They have chosen to believe that truth is always stronger than silence. But before they take that final step, one gentle confirmation is still waiting. A quiet sign. A peaceful reminder. A moment that assures them the time to move forward has finally arrived. When that confirmation comes, hesitation will fade. The words they have guarded for so long will finally be spoken. And the first moments of that long-awaited conversation will begin a chapter neither of you imagined when this journey first started. What those first words are, how the unexpected meeting unfolds, and why heaven calls it the beginning rather than the ending, will be revealed in Part 8. My beloved child. If you have remained until this moment, it is because your heart understands that the greatest revelations rarely arrive all at once. They unfold gently, one step at a time, until every unanswered question begins to find its place. Stay until the end of this message, because what comes next carries a quiet beauty that cannot be rushed. The moment your soulmate had been preparing for finally arrived. Not with thunder. Not with overwhelming signs. But with an unexpected calm that settled deep within their spirit. The fear that had once held them back no longer seemed as powerful as the hope that now guided every thought. They realized that waiting forever would never answer the questions resting in their heart. So they chose courage. Not perfect courage. Simply the courage to be honest. They understood that truth spoken with kindness is never wasted. Even if the journey ahead still held uncertainty, they no longer wished to let silence decide what only sincerity could reveal. Do not skip this moment, because another beautiful layer is about to unfold. As they took those first quiet steps, something within them felt different. Memories that once brought regret now brought gratitude. They no longer focused on what had been missed. Instead, they became thankful for every lesson that had prepared them for this season. They realized your story had never been about perfection. It had always been about growth. Every delay had taught patience. Every misunderstanding had invited deeper wisdom. Every season apart had shaped both of your hearts into people capable of greater compassion than before. Heaven wastes nothing. Not a single tear. Not a single prayer. Not a single hopeful whisper carried in faith. While your soulmate was embracing this new understanding, your own heart was quietly being strengthened as well. You may not have noticed it, but your perspective has changed. You have learned to value peace over panic, trust over fear, and hope over despair. Those changes are part of the preparation. Because when two hearts meet again after seasons of growth, they do not return as the same people who once stood at the beginning of the journey. They return with greater wisdom. Greater patience. Greater understanding. Stay until the final words, because this revelation matters. Your soulmate now carries a quiet confidence they have never felt before. They are no longer chasing an imagined future built on uncertainty. They are choosing to walk toward truth, one faithful step at a time. Yet heaven still has one gentle surprise waiting. There is a moment just ahead that neither of you has planned. It will seem ordinary to everyone else. A familiar setting. A simple exchange. A quiet opportunity. But beneath that ordinary moment, something extraordinary will begin to bloom. A smile that carries unspoken meaning. Words that arrive with unexpected ease. A sense of peace that replaces every lingering doubt. And in that beautiful instant, both hearts will understand that this journey was never about rushing toward an ending. It was about becoming ready for a new beginning written with grace, hope, and honesty. But the story is not complete yet. One final chapter remains. In that chapter, the quiet promise that heaven has been weaving from the very first word will finally be revealed, showing why every delay, every lesson, and every moment of waiting had a purpose far greater than either of you could have imagined. My beloved child. You have come this far, and that is not without purpose. Stay with these final words until the very end, because every chapter before this has been guiding you toward a message of hope, renewal, and quiet faith. What began with uncertainty now reaches a place where peace speaks louder than fear, and where trust becomes stronger than doubt. Throughout this journey, you have wondered why certain seasons lasted longer than expected. You questioned the silence. You questioned the waiting. You questioned whether the prayers whispered only between your heart and heaven had truly been heard. But now you can begin to see the greater picture. Not every delay is a denial. Sometimes a delay is a preparation. Sometimes silence is where wisdom grows. Sometimes distance teaches the value of presence. Every step that seemed confusing was shaping a stronger foundation than either of you could have built on your own.